Alright guys, so welcome to the second part of this video. So what I thought I would do is I would give you guys an idea of what I do when I get a set of these truss plans and drawings and how I go about interpreting them and pick out information. So what I have loaded right now is 1623 Liberty Street. Again, you're going to see that in the week 2 folder. So we're going to use this as an example. So what I have loaded right now is the actual truss plan. And so basically when you get these truss plans, this is going to show you where on the house all of the trusses are going to be placed. It's going to tell you what type of trusses they are. It's going to list them. If there's any other information on here, roof pitch, heel height, and any hangers or anything like that. So let's just take a look here quick. And so what I do is I look and I see like the orientation and the direction of the trusses. So if you look at this plan, first thing you're going to notice is there's a whole bunch of trusses going this direction. So sitting, on the wall here and here. Then what I notice is it actually changes direction and the trusses are sitting on this wall, and then it's sitting, they end right here. So this is a really good example of, in many cases, what you'll see. So what's happening here, guys, is the trusses change direction. So I know that in my noodle, if the trusses change directions, 9 times out of 10 there's going to be some sort of structural truss there to carry that end of the truss, right? So in this case, what we have is a girder truss. Okay, so this is a girder truss. So I put that in my head or my memory bank or my noodle, as I always say. So I know there's some kind of structural thing going on here. Then I just take a look, and then I know there's a whole bunch of other smaller trusses here. It looks like it's forming a valley of some kind. And then it looks like I have in the front of the house another sort of dormer, some other type of roof system here. So what other information do we have? So it looks like this is a dormer, false dormer. And it says frame and wall as required. So I know I'm going to have to do some framing. It looks like I have, in this corner, I have information telling me I have a 6/12 pitch. I have 12-inch heel height, so where the trusses are sitting on the wall, from the wall it's going to go up 1 foot, and then the roof is going to start sloping. So heel height is important because it's going to allow for more insulation to be poured or blown in to it. Then there's some other information that says see truss drawings for truss details, which is what we'll do on the engineering sheets. And then it has a small hanger schedule here. So it looks like there's just one set of hangers here. Contractor, here's a note, must supply and set web bracing per enclosed truss drawing. So we learned in that first video that the bracing in the webs is going to be an important area for us to look. So I thought what I would do is I would blow this up and start talking about different types of trusses. So if you notice here, there's some trusses, B2s. There's 7 of them. So this is basically showing us where these trusses go. So if you look around, all of them are going to be shown. We've got A2s, A3s. That's the truss that we looked at in the first video. We have A2s again. So we have 5 and 5 and then 6 in the middle here. All right. What I want to do though is I want to look at this truss here. So we have a B1 GR. What do you suppose the GR stands for? Hopefully you guys guessed it stands for girder. So most of the time you'll see a girder truss listed with a GR kind of in the back of it. So what I thought I would do is we would go to that truss. So let's see what we're looking at here. This is a structural truss. So here I'm on the truss B1GR. It's a common girder, so it's basically a common or a gable girder. I have one truss, but if you notice here, it's a 3-ply truss. All right. So do you remember on the MyTech drawing, you know, we're looking at how many plies are there. So it looks like this truss, it's one truss, but there's 3 of them. So I know that this thing is going to be nailed together. So let's just look at, you know, how I would interpret something like this. So do you remember in the first video that we just got done doing and watching, I need to go down into the notes. So if I know there's 3 of them that I'm going to have to nail together, then in my head and my noodle, I know that there's going to be 9 times out of 10, the engineer is going to want you to look and verify what the nailing pattern is. So let's go down into the notes section. So the notes say this: it's a 3-ply truss to be connected together with 10D nails as follows. So the top cords are connected. It looks like there's 2 rows of nails and they're staggered 7 inches on center. The bottom cords, 2 rows staggered at 5 inches on center. And the webs are 1 row at 9 inches on center. So the nailing pattern is going to be exactly that. You're going to be nailing the top cords, going to be nailing the bottom cords, and then you're going to be nailing the webs. So the webs are 9 inches on center, so you'd be just up there with a gun nailing them together. The top row, top cord is 7 inches on center, so you'd be nailing these 7 inches on center staggered, and the bottom row is 5 inches on center. Now, are you going to have a ruler out there doing that? No. Will the inspector check to see if it's nailed correctly? Well, he should be. So, I mean, this is designed as one structural truss, although you're nailing them all together, okay? So in this particular case, that's what we would do. So we would actually set this truss first, and then all the other trusses, you know, would be set after that. Because if the girder truss isn't set, you wouldn't have anything to, you know, connect the trusses into, right? So let's take a look at a couple of things. So let's just see, you know, what is the actual span of the truss. So if we remember, the span is going to be right here. So we have 34 feet. What is the actual height? So the actual height is going to be over here on this left-hand side. We have 9'6", so not too terribly tall. I bet you're probably wondering, what does this weigh? 663 pounds. All right. So we're not going to be able to set this all at once. We're going to have to, you know, set these up and nail them together as we go along, right? So if there's 3 of them nailed together, we're going to have to set one, get it all braced off, and then set the other 2 and nail them together accordingly, right? So out in the field, we've got to make decisions based on the you know, the truss size and kind of the logistics of how we're going to do it. Now, if we have a crane, we could actually nail this together down on the ground and crane it up, right? But we're not going to be able to do that if we don't have a crane, because I don't know about you guys, but I'm not going to be able to lift that much weight, all right? So those are some of the things we got to look for. Now, I know that there's going to be certain mechanical fasteners and things on this truss as well, okay? What other things? Let's look at the reaction ones, okay? So on this side, reaction 1, I have 11,828 pounds. That's a heck of a lot of weight, all right? So let's go over to this side. 13 is 11,828 pounds. So, you know, the weight of all those trusses, you know, on this whole girder truss is transferred, and then it's going to get transferred down to each part of the wall, all the way down to the foundation. All right, so those are things that we have to take into account. So I know that inside of the wall of my framing, I'm going to have to put studs directly underneath these stud cavities, okay? So what other types of information is important? Well, you know, all we need to do is, like, we're going to lay out the wall, and then we're going to know that there's going to be B2s to set. So we would set this one first, and then we would start setting all of these trusses. We would pick one end and we would start laying out, okay? And then from this side over, we would start from probably, we'd have the trusses laying on the top of the wall, and we'd start tipping them up and working our way back toward the outside. And then we would end with some sort of a gable truss on that end, okay? Now, how would I know, guys, what types of hangers would I need to hang the ends of these trusses in? Let me show you how we do that. So I'm going to zoom in here. And if you notice here, there's these little rectangles here with this symbol here. Okay. On the truss layout plan here, I'll just swing back over. There's a hanger schedule. Now this particular manufacturer uses these symbols here. So every one of these trusses gets a hanger. It's an HUS 26. So the trusses would be delivered, and then there would be a box, and then there would be a whole bunch of hangers in there, okay? And then those hangers would be the ones that we would use. Now on this, it would be pretty simple. The hangers are only going to be required on this particular girder truss. And the rest of them do not require hangers because we're going to be nailing them directly into the outside wall, okay? So that's pretty simple to understand. So all of the trusses then, including, you know, this girder truss and all other trusses, are going to be listed, right? Here we have the A3s. This is what we looked at in the MyTech drawing video. Here we have A2s. This is actually a gable truss, A1DE. All right, so let's go look and see. Notice how different that looks. That's because that's going to sit on the very outside of the wall, and then the rest of this would get sheeted, right? So you would see eventually siding all the way up to the peak of the gable, right? So when you see a truss like this, this is typically going to be a gable truss. You're going to notice there's some lateral bracing shown in here. So let's figure out where A1DE actually is. All right, so let's look. It looks like right here. So A1DE is going to sit from here, and it's going to go all the way over, okay, to there, to where this truss ends, and then we're going to have a valley here. So part of what you're doing, guys, is you're visualizing how this roof is going to look. So I know that that truss is going to go there, and it's going to go on this end here. It doesn't go any farther because the other trusses that are over here, these B2s, the overhang is right here, so it can't go any farther than that, all right? So in the front here, what do you think is going on in the front like this? It looks like the trusses are sitting on the wall here, but they go out. So what is this little rectangular thing here? Well, that's a front porch, okay? So if we had the actual house plans here, we could see that. But right now, let's just focus on, you know, reading and understanding this actual truss layout. All right, so this is a fairly simplistic or simple truss layout. We've got a structural truss here, a big girder. The rest of them are just common trusses, so it's basically a common roof or a gable roof with a couple of valleys and a false dormer in the front. Okay, so when you're taking a truss plan like this and you're looking for information, that's typically what we're going to be looking for. Okay, we will lay out the walls accordingly. We will look for any other information that's important, but you're going to simply take any truss plan and you're going to use it basically the same way. You're going to be looking at the layout and you're going to be looking at the truss engineered drawings, okay? Now, for your assignment, guys, when you're looking at 2130 Kane Street, I'm just going to go into that. I've included some 3D pictures here, so I just wanted to show you kind of what we're dealing with here. So on this particular plan, what type of roof do you think this is? Anybody have a guess? Well, the clue is it's sloped on all four sides, so this is going to be a hip roof, okay? So this thing's a hip roof, and I have some various pictures of how the trusses would sit on here. All right, so you can use this, and you can get use this as a reference. All right, so there's some different captures here, some different views of how the trusses would sit on the wall. So this is really what we're trying to get toward. All right, so when we're looking at truss drawings, we're looking at where the trusses sit and where they're located, okay? So use these, it'll help you, I think, get a better understanding of where the trusses go. So, you know, I have the truss engineering sheets for this particular house, okay? I also have the actual truss plan, so it's the same type of plan, except it's a hip roof, all right? So there's going to be a little bit more information here, but this will give you guys a very, very good understanding of how to actually pick out the information and read it. All right, so here's what I want you to do. I want you to work on those questions, work on picking out the information that I'm asking you to find, and just get familiar with it. Okay, so the more you practice at this, the easier it's going to get. So we're always going to have a truss plan. We're always going to have a stack of truss engineering sheets. And sometimes there'll be a 3D drawing, like I gave you, you know, some different pictures of what the trusses are going to look like sitting on the wall. So this will help you get a better understanding of that. All right. So as always, if you have any questions, feel free to get a hold of me. Use the discussion board, guys. You know, as a group, we can do it that way, or you can just simply give me a call. All right. So have a good week, and I will see you next time.